yeah. You ever picked up your stuff from a lost and found before, and they're so nonchalant? They're like, Nick, and I'm like, yep. It's like, wait, you said my name. You didn't ask me what my name was. Like, I could have just been like, sure, that's mine.
Close enough.
Yes.
Of
Dave,
course.
close enough.
Yes.
The one with the money in it.
Yeah. Whatever it is, it's mine.
The wallet with the cash in it?
Yeah.
That's mine.
That's actually mine.
Cash money?
That's mine.
For the camera work, did you have more flexibility for, say, versus, other work that you've done? Did you have more flexibility for Nick?
Yeah, I mean, we usually vibe on stuff like that. And I think the process for that was literally notebook, King of the Hill in the background, but it was silent with the subtitles on. And then scary music.
This pre-production?
Yeah, this is pre-production. I would like read scene by scene through the script, and then people overthink camera shit. They're like, we're gonna do this big one, or it's gonna be one long scene, and then explode. Like like the first thing you probably think of for most visual art like that is probably a good decision. So I would like write down everything. The first thing I saw in my head. Write it down in this notebook while listening to like spooky music.
Yeah. And
then if I scared myself too much, I'd like stop and look at King of the Hill and then go back to like writing.
You're like,
no, spooky. Anytime you read through a script and like there's not an immediate, because that's the thing is like you're reading through a piece of written text, like there's a clear like, okay, I can see this.
And it's not your vision.
What?
When you read a script that you didn't write.
No, but that's
tricky.
You got to kind of envision what
how the hell
what the director's envisioning.
Yeah, I mean, I would touch base with Nick on that, but figure too, like it was also like sitting there and saying, okay, like so the first go to is like to not overthink it. I think a lot of people call it snow plowing, is they just like write everything they see from like it's like doing a sketch, right?
Yeah,
nothing hard pencil, get everything on the paper, because sometimes those first overthinking is very common with. Especially with cinematography, like, how many movies you've seen that are like they walk in a nightclub and there's like 15 million lights and like, you're like, okay, like, and then the scenes like has this crazy, it's like, it's hard to follow. Like if it's not.
It's like a music video.
Yeah. If there's certain scenes that necessitate that, that's important. But like I said, the last thing you want to do is have nothing, right? So what I would do is I think I still have like a set Bible that was just like all the scenes, the first write downs. And then we took them into this app called Shot Designer.
Yeah, I played with that before.
It's fun because you get to. I mean, the biggest holdup for cinematography is blocking. So my rule of thumb is usually you don't shoot anything until you have it blocked. So let's say like.
So there's definitely a lot of work behind what you do. Definitely, then. Like there's a lot of work.
I hope so.
Like there's like
I just wing it.
You don't just go and you're like, oh yeah, I'm just filming. It's like no, you have like a set kind of like you're gonna do this.
I mean, I've worked on things that are much more. You have a lot less control, and that's usually much more of like a documentary style of shooting. So like, you are at the whim of whatever the subject is. Like, even when I was working with, that's kind of how I felt when we were working with bigger talent recently. Was like, they're there only for 8 hours or however long their day is. And it's just shot after shot. You don't have time to carefully articulate. Because I mean, I garnered a pretty good sense of like lighting intuition. So like you kind of understand, okay, this light's here.
I was going to ask you about that.
And this camera's here. Like it doesn't feel, it's like people that like, I envy people that can do it. People that can just start drawing. Like I can draw like a head, but people that can draw like fingers with no reference, I'm like, that's incredible, insane. It's like there becomes an intuition. Like they know enough of how a hand looks.
Yeah,
but also
under certain lighting and stuff like that.
Also lighting, yeah. Like you can take that and say, okay, this is the shape of a hand, and then you start sketching, and then you have a hand. You like know what that looks like. You don't need a reference. You might check your own hand, like, oh, there's a little mole there, or like a scratch.
Yeah. When setting up lighting for a shot, do you go by preconceived notions of what you already know that you like? Like, how do you know what to look for when you're looking through the lens? And
So the number one rule usually starting is that like so from blocking, right? So if you have time to block, you have, I have talent A.
Blocking being where things are positioned.
Yeah. You basically, blocking would basically be like you go through the scene in its entirety of what you're shooting, and you have your talent move through that scene in that space for what the director wants. So the director can say, okay, you're going to go over here, you're going to sit down, you're going to take a sip of your coffee, whatever it is. Sometimes that's more difficult because you're dealing with something like, say, a stunt, right? You're not going to guarantee where someone's going to land, or, you can kind of guess, right? But I have to be able to I don't want someone to do a fall or a stunt and then not have it shot. So that's the biggest thing is when you have the blocking, I can say, okay, they're going to move from here to there. So as long as I have this to here, we can get it in wide and then a close up, and then we'll go from there. And so usually after blocking, you put marks down. That's usually what an AC will do. So they'll give marks for talent. So talent, hits the same spots. That's the biggest pet peeve is now if some I've seen some actors that are really talented that can just hit marks with no hard marks, but you need marks, like especially for focus, because people are relying on, okay, they're going to come 5 feet to 2 feet. I need to be able to hit that mark every time.
Right.
And I don't want to hit this quick move and have them out of focus to them or doing this shot 10 times.
Yeah.
So after you have like marks down from your blocking, I usually like starting lighting from there. Now, a lot of people like pre-lighting because it's quick and easy. But if I have the time to, I won't, because things change so often. I think you remember probably we had times where we were like flagging a window for the daylight. And then once we were actually shooting, the daylight was gone or it was behind a cloud. So it
didn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah. You usually want to light after you have that movement down. But once like the action's all set, usually what happens is I'll say, okay, this is the angles I want. Approved from the director, like we're going to go here, here, here. And I said from pre-production, I'll already have somewhat of the blocking down, right? Now, maybe the exacts. Because you're never going to have, I can make a game plan like, shot designer looks like a football coach having like a bunch of little people and they're going to go left to right and right to left and whatever. But you might get there on location day of and find out that they can't go right to left because they're going to walk into a lamp or something. They might change.
Yeah.
So at least the top downs, the shot designer gives you an idea.
Yeah.
And then preferably after having that blocking, I can say, okay, the number one rule, that's why, same reason a bunch of those Amazon movies and things look like shit, is lighting from behind camera. Lighting from behind camera is like the most like if you turn that light off Andy right now, I would look like a fucking.
That's why I hate
like a passport photo.
That's why I hate people who are like, oh, let me put the flash on. Whenever they're taking a picture, it's like that's the worst position for a light to come. It's not natural. That's why.
A flash was invented as a supplement for film photography where you didn't have enough light, so it just gave you a photo. It didn't mean to look good.
No. It's just you could see it.
So you can light the subject.
Yeah. So usually anywhere between like 90 degrees from where the camera is. So usually you guys like a 180 degree rule is what usually you follow for a scene. So if you're shooting a scene this way, I'm not gonna. I can shoot from the left, I can shoot from the right, but I'm not going to go behind me.
Right.
That's going to make the whole space different,
Yeah.
But if you usually follow 90 degree rule for the camera, I can say, okay, like this is my 90 degrees from the pinpoint, the corner of the camera. Like I don't want to be close to 45 degrees from that camera there because the light's going to be too flattening. Mm-hmm. Whereas like, this thing's sitting off my, right. And like side lighting is, people are like, oh, side lighting's not that great. You can light a whole scene with one side light if you place it. Mm-hmm. And that's the other misconception too, is a lot of people talk about 3-point lighting. Like I need 3 separate instruments. Yeah. You really don't.
That's a big in the green screen and keying and shit like that. They have 3-point lighting where it's like 2 softs and a key in the back.
Yeah, usually 3-point lighting would be.
So is this light shit? Is that what you're saying?
No. Like usually 3-point lighting would be like a key, a fill from an opposite side, and then a rim light. Yeah. But you can accomplish all that with one light. Mm-hmm. Like if you had bounce
it around and shit.
Yeah, even it is bouncing.
Yeah.
Like if you threw up a black sheet between me and the wall right now, you would see this much more shadowed side come up.
Oh yeah,
like,
of course.
Like what the fuck is
Call
it bouncing
it
off?
Neg or negative.
Yeah.
It's still
negative
bouncing
fill.
off of. You can see my hand reflecting off the top of there. So that's usually. Because especially with lighting and like a lot of equipment's heavy and takes time to rig up. So if you don't know where things are going,
you're limited too with the set where you can place things, right?
Yeah. Like
that's gonna be huge.
If you're on a real set with set walls, usually they don't have a ceiling. They usually have like a drop in. They can drop in if they have like an upshot. But that usually means you can shoot from over set walls. But if you're working in like a pre-existing location, like
more often than not, I would think.
Yeah, you're pretty much at the whim of that. Which is a whole nother world of rigging, because a lot of grips, and gaffers too, like, they're gonna, okay, we're in a room like this, like you guys have stands up, but if we didn't have any space, okay, like how are we gonna rig to a ceiling? You need like a special clamp for that or something else. So there's a lot of pieces and parts to know.
So grips and gaffers, what's the difference? Is the gaffer just gaff, or do they share roles?
Usually the grip is doing
The lighting,
rigging. So you're talking about the utensil that's going to hold that light. And then the gaffer is usually helping you with the light and everything past then. So whatever goes in front of that optic or goes in front of that lamp. So like,
gotcha. Once the light's placed,
yeah,
they deal with the rest.
Like usually you have a key grip that's in charge of other, like grips underneath them, like just shoveling popcorn in your mouth. Yeah. No, but like a gaffer will usually be like kind of the lighting liaison between the DP and the rest of the crew. So like,
it's the next step after the grip, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, like if you're gonna put it that, like, I mean, the people immediately underneath a DP would be like your gaffer, and key grip, and then your first or your A camera op. And if the DP is opping, then it's usually like an AC. But I mean,
there is a hierarchy of shit. Like it doesn't mean anyone's more important. It all is one thing, but there is, like, for example, from paper to set, you have the set dressing, you have the grips, you have the gaffers, you have the camera. Like it does work in a flow, like in a streamlined way.
And it should. I mean, it steps down basically to the point where, like, every small, like, if I'm DPing, I don't need to worry about the safety of the equipment. I should be aware of it,
right?
But that's up to the responsibility of a grip to make sure that this is rigged safely. We have a client or talent that's worth way more than the half the equipment is. So they need to make sure that's secure.
There's kind of a level of competence that's expected from every department.
Yeah, true.
It's a group. It's like a group effort.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, like you can. Everyone makes mistakes, right? But like,
of course.
I mean, usually.
But it's a snowball effect when the mistakes are made. It can become an avalanche pretty quick.
Yeah. I mean, the only mistakes you don't want to make in front of anyone are gravity based. If anything, boom falls, light falls, camera falls. That's like a broad oversight of
like a literal gravity based thing,
falling object,
which you've experienced with cameras.
I've seen some things, yeah. I mean, figure too, it's like, well, I mean, firsthand, like you can do all that work to make sure everything's good, and then if you don't properly have a good DIT workflow, you're not getting the footage back.
Yeah. So then it's all for nothing at the end of the day.
Like I said, I'm dealing with footage right now that's like the footage was all there from a different person that shot it. But the DIT, I'm not even gonna.
No one knows. So
I'm not gonna say this is a DIT. This is some fucking moron that shot something and dumped it on a card or a hard drive. But random folders. It's
just not structurally.
Remember, you're like on a set, like your small oversight is going to be someone else's problem.
Oh yeah. Like I said, it all flows downhill. So I mean,
yeah. Like if you do a shitty job DITing, you're fucking up an editor. If I do a shitty job shooting it, I'm fucking up the producer for their cash, the director for their vision. You know what I mean? Like it's all you have a lot of there's very few positions that people aren't relying on you for, even if you're the lowest position. Because remember, it goes back up. Like even a PA that's running coffee, is still responsible for making sure that those people are caffeinated and alive.
Yeah, they have those caffeines.
Yeah,
caffeines.
Right. It's like a little universe in its own self where everything works together, and if one piece falls, it's just this cascading effect where it starts to affect everything else.
Yeah, and I think that it's one of those things too. It's like, I mean, my first job ever at 16 was working in a prep kitchen doing prep cooking for a
which
restaurant.
Is a film set.
Yeah, really, I mean, it's the same thing. It's
the same idea. Yeah,
it's also like the fact of the matter is that no one's starting a position in a restaurant, especially like as a cook or a head of house. You got to work your way up.
Yeah,
well, it's the same thing with music. There's a lot of industries go back to the analogy of food prep and baking a cake is like a huge thing. Even with mixing music, you have all the ingredients and it's up to you to make that cake, the unit, good.
Yeah.
And then you have to have a balance of ingredients. You can have a great ingredient, but if it overpowers everything else, it's not cohesive.
Yeah.
So that makes total sense.
Like, yeah, you're building the cake to send it off to the person who's going to put the final touches on
Put it in the oven.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally true.
I think the big thing is that we've gotten out of, I don't know if it's just like a COVID related thing for set or just a budgetary thing, but I see a lot more. Last time I saw an editor on set was probably like 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
Is that a typical thing to have an editor on set looking at it?
It used to be. I mean, I think for VFX, you should definitely have a supervisor on set, but.
Well, absolutely. Because you literally need to plan that ahead of time.
I've watched people.
Oh yeah,
that told
I
me.
Totally get that.
I've watched people that tell me, this I can get this to work multiple times. I could count on my hand in the last even 2 years, like maybe 3 or 4 times. People were like, "Oh yeah, I just need this and this," and then when it's in the edit room, like, "Oh, that wasn't as easy." As
I have done that to myself more times than I can count, so I totally get that. I have said I'll fix that later, and then I shoot myself in the fucking face.
It's sometimes hard to visualize. Like I usually, more recently, I did a music video where we did a previs, where we
like an actual 3D previs, or
no, we did like a bunch of previs test shots where we not with the real talent and with the way we wanted to do the effects. So it was like some gore effects. It was like someone smashing a head and then all this other stuff, and we were trying to figure out what we could do and how we could composite that. And it still ended up being kind of hard, but
it's always harder than you think, though.
Like even like I mean. Most Hollywood films and television shows for even stunts now do previs just to keep everyone safe. So they for stunts, it's like at any point they don't have to be doing the stunt and in danger. We don't need to shoot it. We shouldn't shoot. We shouldn't shoot throwaway stunts. That used to be a big thing back in the 80s. They would, or Hong Kong cinema, they would hire people. They're like, hey, you're going to get blasted from this air cannon. And then we'd like cut the shot at the end of the day. But like nowadays, I'm sure you've seen previses of like The Punisher and stuff where the stunt guys will choreograph everything, shoot the whole fucking scene on like an iPhone, doesn't matter, show the director and be like, hey, this is what we're going to do. And then they make a shot list from that. So they're saying.
Have you dealt with a lot of stunt work? Not like obviously being involved with it, but like being on a set where stunts, like actual.
Yeah, I mean, more recently, yeah.
Maybe martial arts, but.
I mean, I have a martial arts background where.
That's why I ask.
Yeah,
I don't know how the crossover is.
I ended up kind of getting stuck being like a safety advisor for some of the stunts on Uncanny, but it was more like they were small ones.
Yeah, of course. They were basic.
But I mean, I have a good. I think.
Were you a martial artist?
He's a black belt in Taekwondo or what?
I have a secondary black belt in Shaolin Kempo, which is like before people called it MMA, they would just call it Kempo karate with the
Kempo
and Shaolin Kung Fu. But
okay.
The biggest thing, I mean, you saw that trailer that I showed you guys earlier. The biggest problem with the stunts is people don't know how to, like, unless you're, that's why a lot of wrestlers get hired now to do Hollywood films because they can pull punches and not hurt themselves and not damage their,
There's a real skill to that. And there's also the thing where you have martial arts that visually are artistic and they look good on film, but they're not practical in real life environments. Like, people got into MMA, which is more practical fighting, which is cool, and everyone's into it, but it doesn't translate on a film like Kung Fu does. Yeah. Kung Fu looks badass, and every Marvel movie has all this Kung Fu fancy shit, but it's not necessarily like a street fight, the shit that you would do.
Yeah.
It's like kind of a martial art. The art is emphasized when it comes to film, and then the rest of it.
Well, like even watching like UFC, you're like, a lot of ground battles. You're watching people just roll around on the ground together.
It's not as exciting as flying kicks. But
but it's exciting for people that know what they're doing, right? Mm-hmm. So people that like, oh no, they're doing a rear naked choke or something. They're like, oh, they got him in an arm. But like people that know what they're pulling off, and they'll just see like a blob of meat wrestling around the ground are like really enjoying that.
But you're never going to see that in a superhero movie.
But you could show a Hong Kong action fight scene to anyone in the world, and they're like, I could kick that guy in the fucking face. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So here's a question. How much of that, obviously the camera work is would you say 50% or more in an action movie? Because a lot of shaky cam can cover up a lot of kind of shoddy stunt work.
Like high shutter.
High shutter. You see that Saving Private Ryan is like fucking let's max out that shutter and get going.
I mean, they ruined it by the first Bourne movie.
Oh yeah. Too much. It's like Cloverfield with Jason fucking Bourne.
Yeah, I mean, and you see it now. If you watch any action movies that have like these aging stars, You won't see him pulling punches.
Taken.
Oh, that famous scene where he jumps over a fence for like in 15 shots.
What do you prefer? Do you prefer one over the other? Do you prefer the like Ip Man where it's like fluid camera movements and it's the choreography of it is fucking top notch because you have to be? Or do you? I mean, I don't know. Do you prefer? Shaky cam has its place.
I guess it'd probably be based on who's performing.
I mean, like you've seen Old Boy.
Yeah, of course.
You know the fight scene, the classic fight scene. That's a perfect example. You have the classic fight scene where it's supposedly it is one take. You could tell it's one take, and it's a dolly shot, and it's back and forth. It's more raw. It's less theatrics. It's more fucking improvised. And then they did the remake, which I didn't watch, but I did watch the fight scene, and it's 100% Jason Bourne shit.
There was a guy I found on YouTube recently that does, because I mean, obviously, like. Quarter does like Stuntman React and all those things where they actually talk to guys that like do, some guy did a Hong Kong cinema breakdown of that style, which like, I mean, if you watch it, you'd see like that style is.
Which style?
What's the style of shooting action like Hong Kong cinema.
Okay.
So like
long takes.
It's a couple of things. It's actually like, it's, I can't remember the nice name. I can look it up, but impact based cuts. So like they'll have like a dude and they're not even timed correctly, if that makes sense. So basically like they'll have someone like throw a punch and they'll be almost in contact and then they'll cut to like a close up of like the rib cage and the punch is somehow like 6 inches back now and still nails them. And somehow that in sequence has more of an impact than you're cutting on action and hits. You're cutting on different beats.
So the transition is the hit. Or the buffer of between the hits.
But like even like if you did we watch Jackie Chan's stunt thing? I watched that with.
I think you watched that with me.
Yeah, it's
I watched it with him. We've gone down those rabbit holes too of stunts. I showed him the whole Umbach 2 fucking
Jackie Chan. I mean the two ones that Jackie Chan's My Stunts that breaks down like how they perform. It's a performance, and then it's like a documentary or like a training class. He like goes through his basics and then they show him like on the day of on a set and he's like brutal on his co-stunt performer to the point where he like fires him. And you're like, Jackie Chan like being mean. I can't imagine that, but it's because he's not hitting the same beats.
You mean actually brutal, like direction wise?
Yeah.
Like not physically.
Yeah. So he's like, I forget what film it was for. It's in My Stunts. They're on like a rooftop scene. They're fighting, and they have this German martial artist that they had come on set to train. And like Jackie Chan had like a team of guys that were like his dude. You see the same dudes getting punched in the face in every one of his movies. They're like trained to fall. They have like their own language of like ki-ing to like know where you're attacking. So they make like an O sound. That means they're coming from your right, so they can like. Respond.
So all of those are cues a lot of the time.
They're all like.
Wah shit.
Yeah, and they're gonna cut all the audio out anyways, and like adding punch noises. So
interesting.
But he doesn't really fire him. He like basically has one of his guys come in and do the stunt instead to fill in because he can't get the beats.
And this is a guy who's martial arts first.
The guy that got fired,
Jackie Chan.
Oh yeah.
He's martial arts first, so like he's focused on that. So if you're fucking that up, then that's like what he is.
Yeah,
But
figure too, it's like visualizing stunts. If you don't have a martial arts background or you don't understand like I can see martial arts film and be like, that's the way that makes sense. Like I want to see I don't want to see like a right low like rib punch from the outside. I want to see from the inside. I want to see the reaction. Like it makes sense. And I think a lot of directors that don't have background in that have a hard time understanding like. That's why fight scenes look sloppy, especially in indie movies, because you end up with like they might not have stunt performers. They shoot like a one take and they're like, oh, good, we got the fight down. Check, and they move on.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, I mean, if you look at like Hong Kong cinema really made that for, and then we just stole it all. We just stole
made
all.
It worse, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, they've gone back to what was I watching recently that had like a really bad? All right, actually, you ever seen American Ninja with Michael Dudikoff?
No.
That it was a mid '80s film. Michael Dudikoff is he looks like he's trying not to look at the camera in every scene. So he like squints like Clint Eastwood, but like instead of like it's like if Clint Eastwood was trying not to look at the camera, he's like, yeah, that's great. Yeah, okay. He's like, and he can't do martial arts. He's just like a handsome-ish man. So he just like throws everyone. So it's one of those ones where all the stunt performers are doing all the work. Like they're doing the ones where like he grabs their arm and the stunt performer is like, whoa, and like flips over.
Right. They're reactionary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think they recast him as someone else or got a new actor in later that actually could fight. Man, you can tell the difference immediately. I mean, you can tell when someone doesn't know what they're doing with their body. That's actually why a lot of martial arts movies.
What do you look for? Is there any specific tells where you're like, yeah, that's bullshit? Like anything in particular that really stands out?
Well, I would say, I mean, like you've seen Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. The young female actress, I forget her name. She wasn't a martial artist. She was a dancer. So she could learn choreography with her body. And that's what it is. I mean, you don't want people like, oh, I want the fight to look more natural. But like,
Yeah.
you have to have choreography, one, to be safe.
Right.
And two, to get what you want. Because the camera has to, for the same reason, have choreography to hit all the marks.
Exactly.
Like if you watch breakdowns of like early Jackie Chan films, they're timing the camera to like, it's like in close, kick, punch. They pull out. So you can see the guy get blasted on the ground. Like you see the full thing. They don't cut around like horror movies where it's like slam into a wall, cut. It's fall on the ground, cut.
It's like edited action. It relies more on the editing than the choreography, I feel like, in a lot of the Hollywood.
Or the actual live filming of it.
Yeah, it's safer that way.
Well, I feel like too in American cinema you have way more wire work than you do in Chinese cinema. Chinese, you'll have fucking like cardboard boxes set up, and that's that.
Well, they invented wire work.
Did they?
Yeah.
No shit.
If that Jackie Chan, that's what I mean. Did you guys see I didn't see the new Matrix. Do you guys see it?
I didn't yet. No.
No, not yet.
So the original one was choreographed. I wish they didn't blank on the guy's name. The famous kung fu Hong Kong choreographer. All the wire work in there is like hip harness and pull harness. And like the pull harnesses are basically like a tack vest with a wire, and the other end is a rope, and like 3 little Chinese guys that just like pull, and then you fly in the fucking air. And it's like if you watch Jackie Chan's doc, they have an art for it. Because if you pull too far, you're gonna send the guy like to the hospital. You pull too less, and then he's like doing like a jokey, floaty dream sequence, like ooh, like it doesn't work. So to have that balance between like you want to have it look like superpowers, like you want to have a guy throw a kick and the guy go flying.
That's all Marvel shit.
Or a guy get
it's wires and green screen.
They're doing it more now. I mean, they took it all from Hong Kong though.
But it's funny because when you pointed out where you talked about Game of Thrones, it always comes back up. But when she fucking stabs the Night King and she does that classic knife drop
thing.
And I was telling you that I watched the new Black Widow movie, and they literally did that twice within the first 15 minutes of the movie. And I had to text you right then and there. I was like, that's fucking hilarious because he called it out.
I think
when did that start? Is that a thing that started?
It was in, I saw someone's breakdown recently. It was in, they did it in Far Cry 3.
In the game?
In the game they did it.
You know what I'm talking about? Where like
you're in a knife fight.
They grab your hand.
We get jammed up, and then instead of I'm locked in a block, and then the guy drops the knife and grabs it with his other hand and then stabs them in chest.
Yeah. That classic move that
like that.
Macy Williams did that to kill the Night King in Game of Thrones.
There's action tropes where like things like even after the Matrix came out, bullet time was huge.
Well, Max Payne did that shit. Yeah, that was yeah.
I don't give a fuck when the games take from it. I think that's cool. I give a fuck when other because it's a different experience, right? Like, do you remember how bad the bullet time was? Or it was kind of cool, but in the Enter the Matrix game.
Yeah, I remember that. That was a fun game.
Yeah, it just like
that was a real fun game.
It like
it was clunky, but it was fun.
So like what you play as none of the main characters, just 2.
You play as Will Smith's wife there, Jada,
or Ghost.
I
never played as her. I only played as Ghost. Fuck her.
Yeah, that was a fun game though. But yeah, I was interested in like stunt work like that. Like, there's so many different. I don't know. It depends on the movie, I guess. But
Listen,
I've seen like the Chinese cinema where it's more fluid and you have to be good at what you. I guess it goes back to music too, even where you have all these people with the production values over the top, but as a musician, they don't have it.
Yeah.
And they're covering up all of that.
Yeah, I mean, like Marvel will now and then hide, stunt performers in there, but at that point, there's also so much CGI around it. Does it even matter?
It doesn't matter.
It's more for like reference.
Right. Yeah. Right. You can. It's all reference because you can change it later, looking at the reference and.
I think it got like tropified where people were like, people don't want to see. Like everyone's like, oh, it's a showdown. That's so cool. But then like, I think the modern audience can't tell between like remember what Black Panther had that terrible CGI standoff fight scene?
Probably
Civil War, whatever.
And any of them.
Yeah.
I don't know. But the thing is, when everyone's flying around, it's hard to do anything with that. It's like, well, there's no gravity in this world, so it's like we can get away with a lot of shit.
Well, I mean, like one of the best, if you seen Iron Monkey, Donnie Yen.
No, I love Donnie Yen though. He's fucking nasty.
Watch that one because it's like got
Iron
some
Monkey.
of the.
Was that before or after the Ip Man trilogy?
Way before. That was like 94. So
oh, shit.
He's like Iron Monkey's like a Chinese Robin Hood. And,
okay.
And Donnie Yen is like
Say no more.
A businessman or something in town that like finds the
businessman turned martial artist.
Well, like all of the editing in that is like super classic, like Chinese Hong Kong action cinema. Like
you can see every move.
Yeah, but like you also can expect things and hit them like.
You got it up.
You said that with a popcorn in your mouth.
I'm balancing it. I have it in between.
No, but you have like hit like the Donnie Yen does a whole fight scene with an umbrella in that.
That's sick.
Where it's like
that's cool. I love when they use objects.
He was dry the whole time.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. You never get rain on him.
It was like
I love that.
Some street kid tries to steal his little coin purse because it's like feudal China. It's like
yeah, it's always
And he like tries to steal his coin purse, and he fights these guys. Yes, communist China. He's fighting these guys with the umbrella, and it's like the impacts are all like they show the close up into the wide and the reaction, and like that's sometimes I think in the editing the move is to make like they have the action, the impact, and they have like an overreaction.
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
So like. You'll see like the hit, and then immediately you see like a wide of some guy flying. I should look up.
Do you know how you would plan for something intense like that?
To shoot like that?
Yeah. Because what do you focus on? You have do you roughly lay out the whole fight without any cameras in mind, and then do you say, all right, these are the moments where I need to really emphasize it? And emphasize the reactions. Do you kind of rough and then zone in?
I mean, like plot it out.
Yeah,
I think it depends on the performers.
That's gonna be fucking tricky.
You know what I mean?
Because a lot of that stuff is not even. You have a story.
Yeah.
But those are the moments in between. Those are like the side quests of the story where it's like, all right, we just need to be exciting here, and we need to have some purpose, I guess.
Yeah.
John Wick nailed that with the use of objects. They did very well with that, where it's like,
throwing
all right,
things around.
This is the environment. How can we use the environment 100%? They did a really good job with that.
There's this guy, Enter the 37th Chamber on YouTube that has it's a pretty long video actually. I'll say it's like 30 minutes called Why 80s Hong Kong Action Movies Kicked Ass. And he does like a breakdown of like editing style, performance. But like I figured for the same reason you wouldn't give like an amateur actor like a 30-minute or like a long ass monologue. You know what I mean? Like
you work with what you have for the talent.
Like that's why a lot of nowadays they'll do previs. They'll say, okay, our performers can do this and this and that, and that director will come in and be like, hit him with a sledgehammer instead of an axe or something. You know what I mean?
How do you determine? You were saying risk. You were talking about risk and
risk assessment.
Risk assessment. Risk assessment. When do you decide that this is for a stuntman and this isn't obvious? Minus like the crazy stunts where it's like obvious the actors cannot fucking do this.
Where it's not safe or what?
Yeah. When do you decide? Like, say you have an actor who has he can do a lot of shit. Like Tom Cruise, for example.
I mean,
Tom Cruise will do a lot of shit, and he's probably going to push to do a lot of the shit. But when do you decide?
Especially, I've worked in a lot of situations where the camera setup's not safe. Like if you're hanging a camera 10 feet over someone's head and that hits them in the face, they're going to the hospital and probably breaking their skull or their teeth out. You know what I mean, like it's the same reason. And figure too, also for the camera's sake, there's also situations where the camera's not in a safe situation. And I think, risk assessment for cameras. I had a college professor that used to always quote is that the camera's the baby. If you drop the camera, it's a dead baby.
So that's the priority.
No one wants a dead baby. I mean, it's like,
Makes sense.
Yeah. Right.
it's one of those things where like being vocal, especially in a set situation, like people will just go along because it's not their gear.
Yeah, they don't care.
It's not their stuff, you know. It's not. Now, granted, it's not my responsibility. If someone said, I mean, think about Alec Baldwin shooting that.
Right. Yeah. Good
Was
example.
a bunch of people giving perfect pretense beforehand, saying this is not safe.
Yep.
On top of that, I mean, that's a whole different story.
I was going to ask you about that though, because you were all about gun safety on set, and we weren't doing shit, but you were over the top with it, which is good.
It's funny because
What do you think about that? I'm interested.
I was on set when it happened, and we were
Just clarify a different set.
different. I was not on Rust. No.
Yeah.
So when the shooting on Rust happened, I was on a different set where we had a lot of firearms, and usually it's down to assistant director. Usually you have an armorer there that's responsible for the weapons. So usually it's all kind of odd to me because like me growing up using guns and then having a sense of safety with guns, it was all so obvious that like I had never worked on a big professional set or a Hollywood production with firearms before this one I just worked on. But my safety checks were exactly the same as what we did there.
Is ammunition
And this isn't
allowed on set? Is live ammunition ever allowed on set?
What I was saying
No.
is there
my
like
question.
blank ammunition like being loaded into these weapons?
Was the last one I did? No.
No.
So I mean, like John Wick was famous for proving that you could use airsoft for a lot of stuff and then do
absolutely.
post effects.
Oh yeah.
Like example, like before, in college, I had the like real first production I did with a firearm, and I did all the blocking. So I said blocking takes a lot of time because you're sitting there with the actor and going through the moves, and then lighting, and there's a lot of downtime in between to hurry up and wait. I made my actor do all my blocking with a bright orange like safety pistol, and then we only gave him the real firearm for the takes, and then it immediately left his hands.
That's it. Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know.
Minimizing risk.
I don't give a fuck if you hand me a gun that's made out of clearly Legos. I'm gonna check the chamber, drop the mag.
Yeah.
But that's you.
And obviously not put your hand on the trigger because it's just the first thing you do. Is
That's my question. Is that's you.
Yeah.
With that, knowing that, and that's your responsibility level. But
Sure.
like you said, some people just don't. They just fucking. They've done 1,000 movies and they just do.
I mean, regardless, it's like
It's tricky.
Well, no. It's like the equivalent of like hopping in a car and immediately hitting the gas. Like it's not gonna.
right.
You know what I mean? Like it's not like you have to have like a lack of. I mean, also not defendable in court. A lack of understanding how something works is not a defense.
Mm-hmm.
So like. If your recording doesn't go through right now, you'll get any footage of that car. Is that the camera's fault? Is it my fault for not reminding you? Because I know
it's so. That's the thing is there's so much gray area there.
Yeah,
it's not. I don't think it's great at all. I think the difference is that like if I like anything that could be considered it's a lack of risk assessment. 100%. I had people when I was doing safety checks like roll in their fucking eyes. Like every morning.
And I get that.
And to be clear, every morning when the guns arrived on set, I made a safety meeting. I showed them the guns, and then I showed them what was being introduced.
Yep.
And then I told them that if anyone besides me or someone else touched it, that they'd be fired or sent off set.
Mm-hmm. That's why.
But I had someone ask me about it, like didn't really understand it. Someone also that probably didn't really understand gun physics, which like whatever, I don't give a fuck.
Mm-hmm.
But I explained to them, I was like, we were at a restaurant and I was getting asked questions. Or someone that was less knowledgeable about guns, and like they were kind of confused. And I was like, okay, if I had like a butter knife, I was like, okay, if I hand you, this is how you hand someone a knife.
Yep.
Right.
Just to be clear, this is how you hand someone a fucking knife. You hand them from the
You
hand.
don't hand them the gun like this.
No. But like, okay,
You never point a gun at somebody.
if I tell you right now, oh man, it's not sharp. Would you still like? I mean, like
I know what you mean. Yep.
like the person getting cut's you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I had a butter knife and I was handing it to him and I was like, this knife's not sharp. You can hold that. And I was like, put your hand on it.
They just trust you.
And they're like, no, like at first I was like, don't trust me. And then I was like, okay, touch it. And they were like, they felt it and they're like, okay, it's not sharp.
Yeah.
And then I did this. I was like, okay, I just proved to you this knife's not sharp. You put your fingers on it. And I went like this. I was like, all right, you want to hold on? And they're like, I'm like, why would you not grab that? They're like, because I didn't see what you did with it. I was like, exactly. So the idea is that anything that goes out of sight, like you're supposed to have, I usually did at least 2 or 3 safety checks. So it's like two other people. It was also my firearm.
It's better to have more than not have more.
I could be sleepy and miss a live round in a chamber, right?
Right, exactly.
You could be sleepy and miss a round in a chamber, and then you know what I mean, like vice versa. So you have 3 people do a safety check, just standard, like
pull the mag and
like I don't
pull it back a couple of times.
Yeah, but it's like I don't like. You could be deathly afraid of guns or not have grown up in a gun culture and not want to interact with it. But I also can't say that you're responsible for the safety. It's the safety for the second those firearms end up in that script, the safety responsibilities of the assistant director, the armor, and then usually choose a confidant like past there. So I had, who did I use for Uncanny? Me, Corey, because Corey is familiar with guns, and then I had someone else check for me a couple days. Mm-hmm. It was just like, and like example, we were shooting this last movie with all airsoft, still safety checks daily. And even after the fucking shooting, I had people being like, why are we doing this? They're airsoft. They don't shoot BBs. And I was like, hang on. Okay. 1, anyone here, you remember, as much as you can say, and I don't give a fuck about your own personal views, not saying you guys, but like anyone on set.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck if you don't think that people should be able to own guns. The difference is that anyone here could own a gun, right? And they could bring their gun to set.
Yep.
They could legally carry it.
Swap it out.
And they could swap it out or accidentally put it down on a set cart. And now the actor that's, said also responsibility of an actor to know that, but like it's already 3 steps behind that, right? The idea of like shouldn't have live this, that. I mean, granted, from what I'm pretty sure we discovered from the Rust set is that they were shooting black powder on the lunch breaks.
They were vintage guns too.
They were.
From what my understanding is, it's Western or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
they were
revolvers.
But they were black powder load revolvers. So they were like, you have to take like.
You got to back it in.
Yeah, you have to pound a lead ball into grease in a sabot. And
it's not like a modern 9mm where you can just grab it.
And there's enough people, gun experts online that have proven that gun won't accidentally fire from not pulling the trigger, from pulling the hammer back. Mm-hmm. What was assumed happened.
You can do that with a classic revolver. You could pull the hammer and essentially it would go. That's what the rapid fire concept.
Yes and no.
You have to have the trigger pull.
Yeah, it's what's called a slam fire. So like,
so put your fingers on the trigger.
It has to be held.
Yeah.
Like if you had a revolver, and we're saying like properly working revolver, they claimed it was damaged, which I don't. Whatever.
People are you can't listen to anyone after the fact. Kind of like it gets a little shady there. You have to.
I mean, regardless is the fact
people
that
will cover their ass.
You hand me a gun, I'm checking it. That's the
I agree.
Absolutely.
But again, that's
no matter
you.
what.
But also, like, you hand me it. I said, for that reason, you're not going to grab the handle of a knife. Like, you could hate knives and be deathly afraid, catatonic, afraid of knives. You're not still going to grab the fucking handle of my knife.
Are there things that you have to agree to before you do anything with weapons as an actor?
What do you mean, like contract-wise?
Contract-wise, whatever.
No, I mean,
does it depend? Does it depend on?
It's probably some boilerplate insurance thing, but I don't know who. I mean, legally liable is different than, like, civilly liable if they're going to sue.
So you have liability within the production, and then you have basic law liability outside of that.
Well,
a separate judicial.
Did you hear about the first AC that got hit by that train like 5 years ago?
No.
may have been less than that. They were shooting on tracks that were supposed to be abandoned, and they had like a mattress on the tracks, and then the train was coming and she tried to move the mattress and got sucked underneath it and got killed. I think both the director and producer are in jail now for that. But that was, things happen when you start thinking about a lot less when money's on the line and whatnot. Like, doesn't mean safety should be excluded. Like,
Right.
I agree with that. But it does slide
for the
sometimes.
For the same reason.
Unfortunately.
Because it's hard to say with, the firearm stuff is its own thing, because I think it's, especially from a martial arts background, I think that your personal safety is your own like responsibility.
Yeah. At a moral level outside of everything.
Now, granted, I think the biggest point I put on Canny, and I said probably to you, is that this is not a toy. Right. It was an airsoft gun.
And you did that speech every time. Mm-hmm. And by the way, just to be clear, we didn't have new people coming in. Like, we heard that speech every time. Mm-hmm. And we knew. But
I had people that didn't listen to me.
But we knew that was protocol. And yeah, we absolutely had people who didn't listen to you. Mm-hmm. And it's like, that's no big deal to you, but you have to realize that snowball effect, like what that could lead to if you disobey that protocol.
I think a lot of people have. I don't really it's politicized. Imagine if like driving safety was politicized. Mm-hmm. Well, I shouldn't have to. They say I should drive my car safe.
I could drive on the sidewalk. I mean, it is faster if I go around traffic and I can take the sidewalk because it is a path. I mean, it's linear. So like how many my tires will fit on it? I should
what else? What else do you interact with daily that can kill people?
Right. Yeah. Well, the thing is with the firearms, obviously, it's controversial anyway because it's if anything, like they use the car thing where it's like, oh, anyone can own a car and you can kill people, but it's not designed to kill people. It's designed to get from A to B.
But even,
and I'm pro gun.
Yeah, no, but I mean, like also for the fact that like.
What other function does a gun have other than eliminating whatever you're aiming at?
It's the person.
Its purpose is to expel
whatever you're aiming at.
Let it high velocity.
Right. That's not what a car's purpose is. It obviously has byproducts to it. But.
Yeah, but it's like also like half the machines.
But you shouldn't mow down the cast with your car either.
No. Half like
that's not responsible.
Like half the machines in your shop.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They're death weapons.
Aren't intended to kill people.
We use a guillotine to cut plates. You know what I mean? So, absolutely. Yeah, but its sole purpose wasn't for that.
Yeah, but imagine, first example, imagine if you had a film set in there and people were fucking around the machines. Right. It's like
there would be a safety protocol for that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But that's the thing is, I think it's. I mean, I don't know if this is all speculation or like hearsay, but like I heard that.
By the way, everything is because we weren't on set. Everything is
no, but like the armor has had problems with that in the past.
With what?
I don't know if it was a blind item or someone said
that particular team. You saying
that particular armor? The armor
did they supply the gun? What is their job? Did they supply the guns and they're responsible for?
So what's supposed to happen is that any weapons on set and armor would be the transport between their storage and the talent.
If you have a movie. And you need guns in the movie. How does that go? How do you plan? Like, who's the supplier? How do you figure that out? Because I know nothing about weapons in movies.
You would usually hire an armory company. That's actually why you see a lot.
Do they have film specific armory companies you reach out to?
Okay. Yeah. So like there's guys in the city.
You rent them like cameras?
You would rent basically however many safety advisors you needed, depending on how big your set was, usually at least one guy. He would have an inventory. All the inventory would be transferred between him and usually the assistant director. And then the assistant director would clear that weapon, go over safety. Usually if it's like something big like that, I've heard of like people being like, I want a 50 cal machine gun.
Yeah.
In the
scene.
Like
a war movie or some shit.
Yeah. And they'll go in and be like, you don't want to have anyone close to this because it gets so hot. And they'll do a test real quick and be like, yep, you're right. Like, so, I mean, it's like anything. It's the same reason, like, a lot of squibs nowadays are done with air. A lot of back in the day, you used to have a pyro license. Used to be like a explosive squib. So you'd have like a
firecracker or something. Or?
Yeah, it'd be basically like a small amount of gunpowder, a blood pack, and that'd be wired to you. And there'd be like an electronic thing that they would trigger wirelessly and pop it. It does look better, to be honest.
It's badass.
Mm-hmm.
Also because Nowadays, I mean, I know there's higher end air squibs, but a lot of air squibs are triggered by the talent.
What is that? Like Tarantino movies, they use.
They have to use real squibs.
Meaning, what do you mean by like modern or the old school, or how does that?
I imagine they're using
Because you can tell. So the modern age has brought forth the dust blood effect, the asset, which is never as good as a Tarantino blood squib.
Usually, like someone was talking about the other day watching. You seen Total Recall, where Arnold's lighting up all those guys on like the escalator. Those are real squibs because you can see what happens. Like with an air squib, you're ending up with like a tube, right? So you have a tube that's going to somewhere else in your body with like an air canister. Sometimes their hand, they'll have like a self-triggered one, and then like a little pocket with blood in it. And it's, you get like a mist, and then underneath you'll just see like red plastic because there's no effect. The difference with the real squib is you can break shit. So back in the day, they used to make they make a fake prosthetic. If you wanted to see like someone's chest get ripped apart, you'd see like they make like fake rib cages or whatever, like The Thing if they're shooting an alien. They would like make all the fake internals and like put the blood in there. And then when it explodes, not only do you get a burn and a separation, it's, you're basically, it's more like it's shooting outward and you get all this extra goo.
Is that a one take deal? Like usually? How the fuck do you plan for that?
They did.
Like for The Thing, that's got to be insane.
It's like how many shots are
There's no way you could have.
I mean, there's a famous scene from the end of Terminator 1 where they blew up that oil tanker. That was like a half scale model, so it was like 5 feet tall. And there's a scene of it where they truck it. They was like pulled on a wire because it's a miniature. They truck it in, and then like the containers full of like some flammable liquid and like walnut dust, or it was walnut dust, which is like to make a fireball, right? Because it ignites like in like I guess outward. But they trucked it in. The truck snapped in half. And then the explosion went off. So the truck just broke. So they had like to take like 2 weeks of reset because they had to remake another truck.
So they didn't plan for that.
No,
obviously.
Anything with effects like that, if it's like you're destroying something.
I always wonder that about when you see action movies where cars are being rolled and fucking destroyed. How many cars do you have?
They're getting like that one.
If you're planning for one take kind of a deal.
If you're talking about the classic.
Did you see The Hitman's Bodyguard?
No.
I think you would enjoy it. There's a lot of fucking stunt shit in that, and there's a lot of vehicles and a lot of motorcycle stunts, and it's pretty wild how much they use boat stunts and shit.
If it's like a car going off a cliff like that classic
and it's
scene,
real shit. It's not CG. Like it's fucking old school action.
No, I think I'm Baby Driver.
I didn't see that.
It's like an orca whale.
It sounds kind of cool. It does sound like a whale.
If it's a car like going off a cliff, they usually just they will like get it up to, they'll push it with something, get it up to speed and just send it and they get whatever they want. That's why most of those movies you see like there's no one in the car.
Yeah.
Or there's like a dummy that's like like flopping around.
No, these stunts in this movie, I just watched it again recently. There's not a lot of end game stunts where that's the end of that. It's a lot of like the cars getting destroyed over time and then they're continually driving the shit. And it's like there's like 2 wheels left and they're fucking he's riding in reverse and they're shooting through the windshield and there's a lot of crazy shit. A lot
of movies, and I don't know if they did this prior, but I know Miami Vice did it a bunch. Is they would have a kit car, so they'd have like a Hero Ferrari, and then have like a Toyota Corolla with like a body kit on it to look like it's. So if they wrecked it, it didn't matter.
So the body is what it looks like.
What's inside is like
gotcha.
Not real.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
they used a Ford Focus, so I think they didn't care.
Like,
it's one of the jokes of the movie that they're like, we'll stand out in the Ferrari, so we'll take the Focus.
Or it's like Ricky's car in Trailer Park Boys, just like I think it's probably the same ish car, getting progressively
get him started. He's all into that.
Progressively more destroyed.
Ricky.
But he like destroys it on purpose. Some of the scenes, just like knocks the fucking doors off.
It's missing a door,
and then they roll it.
Yeah,
like eventually, like.
So going back to the armory question, with cars, do they go to dealerships or do they have a film like company that gives them
or
cars?
A junkyard
or a junkyard? I mean, it depends on the state of the car that you need it in, right?
I'm not sure about out West Coast, but I know there's guys in New York that have like lots of classics. Like when we were shooting this movie last, they were doing a scene with like a high end used car lot. And like the producer called in all his buddies that had like fucking Porsches and fucking like all this stuff just came in. Because I mean, those car guys, that's what they live for, is being like, I get to have my car in a movie. But
that's for like just driving it around. That's not for an action destroying it.
no. I mean, just destroying. I mean, you probably. It's
That's
hard
what
to
I'm
say. I mean,
curious
I know there's guys in like New York that have like, you know, a warehouse. They have every cop car from like the fucking 60s up.
For period pieces and shit. Yeah.
And they rent I mean, there's prop houses for stuff like that. There's a famous prop house in New York that has like every television from like the, you know, 450s up, like, so you can dress your sets, and they have a huge like electronics warehouse.
Jinx.
That shit gets expensive though, you know, like.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I mean,
But I always wonder that because when you see an action movie where the car flips over and it's like it's totaled, like that's obviously got to be one take. You got to be limited on that
If
shit.
it's like, I would figure if it's something more limited, if it's like a vintage Firebird, it's
Depends on the model.
if they're crushing it, it's probably a kit car. Because who gives a fuck about a kit car?
Gotcha.
Like the car expert could tell the difference, but the regular audience couldn't.
So a lot of that's props. It's
Yeah.
like a car prop, essentially.
Yeah, but I mean, like, there's specific, you know, I don't know. It's not even it's not transport, because transport's for crew, but it would be like, you know, some sort of like car prop master. You guys saw that video of that Ronin falling off of that camera truck, right?
Oh yeah, I did.
You see that, Andy?
That was rough.
what was it?
There's a Ronin 2 falling off of a truck.
My stepdad showed me that, and I was like, "Well, they have insurance, right? So
Oh, I don't know.
Well, so
hopefully."
we took I found the original post and I downloaded it. And we went frame by frame through to see like what failed. So,
Of course you did.
yeah, right. I'm a dork.
You should get hobbies.
I'm a fucking nerd. It was so it was like some company that makes like, I don't know, custom trucks, some bullshit. It looked like it was probably a rental, because I could see like usually rental stuff has barcodes on it in weird places, unless it was their internal stuff. It could have been, but it was what they call a black arm. A black arm goes off of like the back end of a trailer hitch, and then or some part of the car, usually a trailer hitch, and then is reinforced, and it's basically like a spring-loaded arm, almost like one of these, like, you know, and like gives you. It was a good night. It gives you up and down tension, so that, you know, if you're bumping around, it's like not just flinging it off and breaking it. And then on that, they have kill shock, which is like a shake remover, and then the gimbal. And like number one, like there was no safety chain. There's a hole in the. I don't know if you've seen the Ronin 2. I've used it a bunch recently, but there's two.
I don't know what the hell you're talking about, honestly.
Ronin 2?
I know the word because you've said it before.
It was like
a camera or a rig.
It was like the gimbal. It was like the
gimbal.
It was like the Movi
Okay.
Pro we use, but it's a better version.
We were talking, just because you haven't seen it, we're talking about there's this video of they're doing like a chase scene, and there's, you know, those arms that come off the car and the camera's hanging. Basically, the camera just falls off of that and gets fucked up.
You want to see it?
Yeah, you might as well pull it up.
think- I
Yeah,
think-
it's wild.
I think I only have. Shut the fuck up. I think I only have the.
Yeah, it basically falls off and gets destroyed. Yeah, watch that. Yeah, it hurts your soul a little bit seeing that happen.
So people were. It's funny because it was going through TikTok, and I was like massively commenting like, "You're all fucking wrong," because people just like, they're like, "That's a red
Well,
dragon."
people don't know.
That's
Yeah.
a 10. No, it was a red Komodo. You can tell when we slowed it down.
Mm.
It had no safety chain, so there's two holes on the gimbal itself, the head, that you're supposed to safety wire if you're hanging it to something else. And there's footage from, like, I think someone sent it to us. It was like from, I think, Nitro Circus, where they were using one, and the same thing happened, but it just swung because the safety cable grabbed it. I mean, I think you remember when we had that big jib. I had a bunch of ratchet straps and safety
Oh
cables.
yeah, you would. Again, this is you taking the precautions.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we weren't even doing anything crazy.
Better
No, but
safe
even
than sorry.
If you
That's right.
if you
This
read the
guy.
fucking manual when you got your gimbal, it says safety holes, like you know, you get a safety cable. So regardless, they didn't do that.
Yeah.
But the worst part is if you slow it down, you can see it. People were like, "Oh, it snapped or something." It didn't snap. It wasn't locked.
Well, even if it did, like you were saying, like your precautions would have avoided it
Yeah.
being totaled
Yeah.
if you
so
had taken them.
you can see in the video, it shakes and it slides off the plate on the truck, And then the only thing holding it onto the truck is the SDI cable. So when it hits, the SDI cable just snaps off and flies away. Then the gimbal rolls away. The lens shoots off like it's made out of rubber. Like the lens, like when the lens hits the ground, there's like, we looked there, it's like 6 frames and it's like doot, 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 gone, like just out of the frame.
Holy shit. Fucking crazy.
But I mean, yeah, $8,000 or sorry, about $6,000 gimbal, $5,000 camera, another like $2,000, at least like
$5,000 camera. That's cheap.
yeah. I mean,
That's cheap as fuck.
yeah. I mean, it's with all the extra gack on it.
Because the Komodo is super cheap. Huh. Yeah, the new red Komodo is just a box and it's cheap as fuck.
Yeah, but I was arguing with people online. He's like, that's a red dragon. That's 15,000. I'm like, no, it's not. You can fucking slow it down. You can see the battery play. It's a Komodo.
What's the most expensive red base camera?
Right now?
Was it the Dragon or no? It's like 50 grand or some shit for like one of them.
The Raptor's like 20 now, I think. But the
Raptor.
The old Heliums.
They're all about lizards. These guys.
But why not the Black Magic?
Why not?
Oh
So-
yeah, explain what you don't like about them, because I am curious. Because I think Nick was telling me that.
I mean,
that you're not a fan of them.
This one,
It has its things that are kind of fucking annoying. But
this one and the new EF one are more popular. They figured it out. But I was told, I mean, I don't think.
the original base, like the original
Yeah, I mean,
pocket.
I was told internally by someone that worked at the company that they make them in China. I mean, like
It's cheap for a reason, obviously.
yeah, but like
Yeah.
even in my job, I work professionally in a lot of quality check. So that means going through every function on the camera before it goes to a client. And most manufacturers do that. So like if you're getting a Sony or a Canon, a name brand, Arri, Red, that before you buy it, they're checking to make sure it works. It meets their quality standard. That's why you see like, you usually see a lot of cameras. It's a QC approved little gold sticker on the gold film cameras. Apparently Blackmagic was testing, they would get like a shipping container over from China. They would test one of the cameras in the whole shipping container and then be like, okay, this batch is good.
Gotcha.
So there's people that have gotten those cameras where like the LCD's installed upside down. So they turn it on and all the functions are upside down. I knew a guy that got one that had like off the bat and like their warranty, everyone knows that's double their warranty stuff. They're basically like, it's so cheap to like fuck you. Like, so like I know a guy that had one that had like battery issue, power issue, was draining too fast, and they were like, well, we can offer you to sell you a new one because it's too expensive for them to repair.
The batteries they give you are just hilarious.
Like it's not great that like, for that cost, maybe it's better to just buy a new camera, but like any name brand camera, you could probably pay like $5,000 plus for.
Wow.
You break something, you can send it to them, they'll repair it. They have a professional service program.
It's in that like kind of prosumer market where it's like, it's better than your DSLR, but you're not getting all of that.
Yeah, I mean, also ProRes RAW is not Blackmagic ProRes RAW is not
The B raw.
Red RAW. It's not the same thing.
How so?
Or like Arri RAW. So like those raw files, those calculators online. I think, or like example, I shot not even ProRes RAW, but ProRes 444 on a GH4 for the Uncanny Harbor short, like 20.
With that, you had like an attachment. GH4?
GH4 with a YAG, and then there was
with
a
that
Odyssey
10-bit,
7Q. Yeah, it records 10-bit.
They shot in 10-bit, the original short.
So we
with the
shot
DSLR.
8 terabytes
Holy fuck.
for the short
Jesus
on
Christ.
444, which isn't even raw. So raw would be more than that.
That's fucking ridiculous,
We
dude.
shot 8 terabytes for a feature on the Red.
Dude, that's
Like
so...
how much have you been rolling for like 4
This ain't
hours?
shit. Like this. Well, I have it compressed though. I have it 12-1 right now.
What if
We're
it,
just talking.
what if
so
it
I
was
don't
like
care. I don't know. I never done it because I never
Gotcha.
needed. I didn't needed to. But I could. Yeah. That is. I think that's a 500 SSD,
okay,
and I'll probably at the end of the day fill half of it, maybe.
with how many hours?
Well, we're probably gonna roll for like 4 to 5. I think I ended up filling maybe 300 gigs, something like that, around
Okay.
that ballpark. But that's the highest compression though,
Yeah, I mean like
and that's raw.
at this point
I
it's
fill more with the phone because it's ProRes and it's
gotcha.
So the phone actually takes more.
So I don't know if you know this, but Red owns the copyright or patent for video raw.
Did not know that. That's interesting.
So if you say you have
no shit.
ProRes RAW or any RAW on your video camera, you're paying
That's
Red
a
a
Red.
license fee. Yeah, they've gone
No
they've
shit.
gone to court. They went to court with Apple about it and won. because Apple was saying
they were trying to. Yeah.
yeah. So
Interesting.
so
they were the first to do raw.
yeah,
Wow.
that's what the red one was for. So I mean,
okay. Oh shit. I
You've
didn't know
seen
that.
like raw photos. You know how like a raw photo almost feels like there's multiple exposures in it. It's because there is. So it's shooting like basically. If I say exposure stacking, that's wrong because exposure stacking is a whole different thing. But basically,
Like an HDR deal. Or
yeah. It's not like that, but it gives you a full range. Like you can change the exposure value in Lightroom on a
So are you saying every stop of exposure is a separate layer, or
sort of, yeah.
Kind of?
That's how it's compressed. If you could open up how it's
like
compressed,
uncompress it?
you
Kinda.
basically see that. From what I've heard, the way the red is encoding it is that it's alpha channel layers. So it's way closer to what film would be shot. I think that's kind of how Sony's pro video stuff and Aries are now too. But it's basically like you would have an alpha channel layer for blacks. So you're not wasting data. So think like if I shot you right now and I was like, let's just look at the lowest value of black. It's only going to record the alpha channel plus that. So it's like, it's not recording, a whole frame and then black. It's like just those pieces. So it's like if you cut out all the pieces and stacked them.
If you broke it out.
Yeah, and into like a multiply in Photoshop and then stack them all
Gotcha.
back together. So that's why you have that range.
Interesting.
So I mean, I think red has one of the best size to raw compression ratios because a lot of features will shoot
It's funny how
8:1:6:1.
the result is great with red, but the product itself has so many fucking buggy, weird things to it.
Yeah, I mean, apparently the Raptor stuff is better now. I mean, DSMC1 was pretty rough. DSMC2, which we use, was better. DSMC3, which is the Raptor, seems to be.
What are these abbreviations?
Sorry,
No problem.
the film industry is covered in
We're half
abbreviations.
retarded, so.
DSMC stands for Digital Still Media Camera. Digital.
So these are the descriptions of the camera,
That's
like
just
kind
its
of the
product
specs
name.
or whatever. The model number.
It's a
kinda?
lineup, yeah. So like, there's multiple cameras in the DSMC2 lineup.
Hmm.
And basically, the idea is that the DSMC 1, 2, 3. There's only one camera out for the DSMC3 now, which is the Raptor. But the idea is that they have the same body and the same accessories, but a different sensor is usually what the difference is.
Okay.
Like
So
there was,
the whole framework of it is the same, but the sensor changes.
yeah, like all the accessories. If you had multiple ones, they'd match perfectly. They'd just be different size sensors, different resolutions, blah blah blah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So what you're saying is you choose a red over Black Magic?
Yeah, but I mean, it's price competitive, right?
Depends what you're doing, though.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, like if you're on a film set, you're going to go with whatever you can, whatever the budget's requiring or whatever.
I mean, I know people that have shot, feature films on. I mean, I did a short a couple months back on a FX3. It's more like price prohibitive. Like it's not the benefit I find in the red, especially with a lot of creative director minds. Like they get a lot of room to move that image around. From my experience, versus anything you're going to shoot raw.
Do you use LUTs when you're so here's a question.
Yeah.
How do you set up your cinematography? Like if you're lighting a scene, are you looking through a LUT of some sort, or are you, because you got to figure if you're shooting flat, it gets fucking tricky. How do you compensate for that? How do you figure out?
So I mean, most cinema cameras are going to pre-apply like a 709 LUT, just a regular Rec 709.
No,
but
that's
if
what we
you're
have on that.
yeah, I mean Rec 709 is just standard, like
Yeah.
distribution graded, like safe. But sometimes, I see a lot now, like you'll have clients that want to look and don't really understand how color science works, and it's easier to just give them. So like,
Explain color science, because
Oh, God.
that's fucking. As I know, it's crazy, but
it's more like figure that like
I'm sure it's a balancing act, like spinning plates.
No, it's like if you have a client that knows like, okay, I want this colored like the Matrix. Like the Matrix is known for that like green, yellow.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Like if
everything has it's peach and teal or green, and that's it, or black and white.
yeah, but if you told me like,
No.
I have a client, they want to do an ad for their stupid insurance company and they want to have it.
You know what that looks like.
Well, yeah, no, but even then, like say there's a commercial someone wants to make look like the Matrix.
Mhm.
You can emulate that look with a LUT, right? So
Right.
even if your client can't understand the science, because the problem is
I get what
Like
you're saying.
let's say I have a big client. I'm working with like Progressive Insurance. They want to have
Yep.
a matrix look.
This is more for them.
It makes it simpler a lot.
So they can look at it and be like, oh yeah, that's in the ballpark.
Yeah, because figure that
Gotcha.
any no professional grader is just going to throw a lot on and be like, and the day's done.
Of course not.
No, but
That never works.
But the idea is that from the the camera op doesn't want a fucking lot on. He wants to see the raw, right?
Right. Which, well, you can have monitors that show the LUT
Yeah.
and not.
Like I know a guy that used to pull focus in black and white.
Yeah.
Just look at contrast.
Oh yeah.
And not worry about it.
This app that we're running now allows you to see the focus peaks with black and white.
Yeah,
Because
So-
you can see it easier.
but the
That makes sense.
but figure like even like personally, I like pulling from color. Like this last film was really saturated, so I was pulling with minus saturation because it was too bright to look at to see. Like, I mean, I'm sure you remember that. Like seeing like bright red colors on a monitor is hard to look at and see focus. So I usually run low saturation and then I usually brighten it actually
Interesting.
so I can see more into the blacks because the black. I mean, figure for my monitor it's fine, but like the client monitors they want to see a lot.
So do you do high contrast or low contrast?
Usually low contrast.
Interesting. So you can see focus more with less saturation, less contrast.
Yeah,
You find.
it's more. So I mean, like
And you're not using any guides like a focus peak or anything like that.
you can use. I mean, there's a focus assist and there's peaking. There's like color peaking, but there's also. I mean,
like zebras and all that shit.
there's also companies that they'll call peaking is basically just like a clarity filter. But
It's just sharpness.
I've also had people tell me they're like, there's a downside to that because say you sharpen it, now you don't have critical focus, right? So if I'm looking at a monitor and it's all enhanced, I can't tell those minute details. So I think I have their eyes in focus and their nose is actually in.
What that is in music terms, it's listening to something that has where the speakers have an equalizer on them already.
Yeah.
And you're trying to mix for everybody.
Yeah,
and
it's
you're
already
already
pretty blind.
biased.
Yeah.
You're already going. So, what are your thoughts on? So, do you like minimal guides or do you false color shit like that? Like when properly exposing, do you just have an eye for it? Do you use guides? What is your opinion on that?
The biggest problem with false color is that every manufacturer does it different.
Oh, okay.
So the biggest fault for that is that like, Arri has their own, color chart. So it's like, okay, I know, like if pink is hot and blue is whatever, right? And then red will have their own color rainbow for their false color.
Biased based on them.
If you're in one system and you learn their false color, it's good to see stuff probably quicker than zebras. Just do a quick check.
Yeah.
I mean, but for pulling focus, it's one thing. For pulling focus at like low contrast, I usually said brighten it up so I can see into the black so I don't miss anything.
Then it's tricky because it's like, how do you decide what's stylistic and what's accurate, and when do you break the rule?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm cam mopping or DPing, then the stylistic choice is usually mine, right? So I can change some of that, but like, I mean, figure
boy.
in this in this day and age with everything recording raw, it doesn't really matter. Like I can
as much.
I can color, I can make it look however the fuck I want. And
That's the thing.
the editor and director can go through later and be like, no, make that blue green. Then
You can get pretty crazy with raw. You can
Yeah.
you can really push it, but it helps to have like a starting point. Like even like I was saying, like these iPhones are made to just kind of give you like a close to end product, and that's raw. So I can say, all right, I like the way that looks, and I can match that to that easier.
Yeah.
I don't know what the compression is on the phones. I don't know if it's H.264 or 265 or whatever. I don't know how they
It's
do
probably
it.
264. I don't know.
It probably is.
I mean,
You can tell a huge difference, obviously, in file size, but it's stupid though. They didn't think it through, and I think it's purposeful because they want to sell you adapters and all that bullshit. Because Apple's in the dongle industry. This is USB 2, so
USB-C 2?
2.
It's just two. There's no,
No
C.
C.
Not yet.
Is it a C connector?
No.
So you're transferring
should be.
ProRes files at a USB 2 speed. How does that make
Wait,
sense?
wait, USB 2.0.
Correct. Ooh,
Why?
you had the O on it.
Yeah,
Oh, you
'cause
made it
that's-
way faster.
It's called 3.0 because there's 3.1.
It's 2.
Why?
It's fucking exactly.
It's slow.
AirDrop is faster. So if I wirelessly send
okay.
my ProRes
Yep.
AirDrop to that, and that's not connected to Wi-Fi, and it's a direct AirDrop connection, it's fast. It's double the speed.
Are we on like USB 3.1 right now?
You would hope that they would be not stupid.
Everything else brought out by Apple is USB-C.
C.
now.
His iPad Pro is C. It's like,
C.
why aren't you doing this? But I know why, because they want to release the dongles or wait for the next phone or whatever.
Or have you use AirDrop instead.
Or use AirDrop instead.
So they can scrape your
it's
data.
Absolutely stupid. Yeah, no shit. Yeah, right. As it's going across.
Yum, yum, yum.
It's like, I love the products, but there's so many decisions they make. I'm like, you fucking
I'm
idiots.
happy with my
You
Google
fuck
phone.
off.
I got it out of my Apple
Says
devices.
everyone who's fucking you.
I don't have any issue. I got rid of all my Apple
Fair.
devices.
It works for you. Fair.
I got fucked with a 2009 MacBook Pro that had built-in obsolescence, and I got fucked with 6S with the battery clocking.
I'm a fanboy with one foot in the door. I'm like, this motherfucker.
You're almost 1 foot out.
Not really. I'm more 2 feet in than 1 foot out, just because everything I use works together. So I'm like, you can't really beat that experience. But there's a lot of bullshit that they do. I'm like, you fucking dinks.
It's gone in the crooked route.
It's stupid.
The only thing I'll say,
I do love the Pro.
I bought this and I shelled out because they gave me a $50 credit. I shelled out for the Pixel Buds.
Yeah.
Like they're
The credit. That's why I got this phone, because of the credit. It's $600 for this fucking phone. So it's like,
there you go.
all right, I'll get it.
The
Dicks.
Pixel Buds are like almost perfect, and then every once in a while, a couple software updates, they'll just have some like weird
Yeah.
cutouts.
I never liked the wireless buds. Even the Apple ones, I'm like, they don't fit. I don't like the way they feel.
Those ones have different cups, but the biggest pain in the ass for me was like I would get wired USB-C headsets. Like my biggest pet peeve was not being able to listen to something if I needed to, or like take a call on the headphones. So
what
like,
do you mean?
like if I want to listen, like have a cigarette and smoke a song and listen to a cigarette.
Smoke a song real quick.
If I wanted to, I'm just smoking, and then and the waveforms going into my mouth.
Yeah.
If I wanted to listen to a song or take a call on headphones, it was I had so many cheap knockoff pairs that were garbage. Like I bought like at the Amazon.
Oh, dude, I've spent Apple prices for the amount of knockoffs that I've thrown away.
Yeah.
And I don't have them on. I always have them on, so like they're part of me. But I have these like they're probably $20.
Yeah.
And they've been the best things I've had after spending
all
$400 on everything else
on
that
top of
failed.
that.
Yeah.
The Pixel Buds are fine. I mean, and the touch sensitivity is cool. Like it detects if you pull one out, so it pauses the stuff.
That's cool.
You can tap it to touch them, but like it's funny. I upgraded all my headphones and like I was using these for gaming, which are like stuffy as fuck. Like
I love the Bose. I can't go wrong with the Bose. He's got them too, because we did one flight and he had open back headphones and all he heard was the engine. So I'm like, you gotta get noise cancelings, dude. Like you can't go wrong with these. I had the Beats. I did like I tried so many different ones.
These are good for gaming.
Well,
though.
these were
the open back.
Oh yeah.
Those are nice.
Who are those? Behringer?
The DT 990 Pros.
What's the brand though?
Something with a B.
I got a Behringer.
Derringer?
Yeah, right? Is it Behringer?
No.
They're not.
Something
I
else.
swear to God, those are Behringer.
Maybe,
Boney?
Maybe a D.
Boner Notes?
Boner Notes. I will say that Behringer crushes it as far as affordability and quality. They do have a good balance.
I got a deal on.
Just try them on. Feel how comfortable these are.
They look comfortable.
Your
as
ears
shit.
your ears can breathe with
They
these
look like wool socks.
Mirrors don't. Literally.
Ready?
Ooh,
Yeah.
They look really comfortable.
You can mix really good with them,
nice.
and you can game with them. You can hear yourself. It's
They look like those massive 70s headphones that just like they click right on like two shoes.
I had
They're heavy as fuck though. They're made of lead.
what did I get? I got a
Oh
Steel Series.
yeah. Well, that used to be. I used to swear by them with my keyboard, but then Mac fucking unsupported them.
They had
Shitheads.
Mine has the DAC.
What's that?
the Dink series.
Dink series, yeah.
It's,
Steel dinks.
It's a digital to analog converter. So the headphones are actually playing analog.
So you plug them in.
So there's a USB header cable. That's and that's the only downside is if I break the header cable, I have to buy theirs again. It's a specialty cable.
That's annoying.
So
Beats does that.
Specialty USB cable, but it goes to the DAC, and then the DAC jumps from USB into the computer and uses my sound card. So the DAC itself converts the audio from digital to analog and then sends it up to the headphones,
Oh, okay. So it's a converter.
which is cool. But it also is neat because all the volume controls and like any sensitivity stuff or muting. There's a bunch of features on the hand unit. So if I want to like just shut them off, I can click that, raise volume from there.
Is your big knob for volume over there? Is that all analog?
That's analog.
So
yeah.
you plug in and then out.
Yeah.
But how's that work?
Yeah, it's just
So is that just a volume controller, like a glorified volume controller?
literally, yeah. There's no power supply.
And you can
to it.
switch. Can you switch speakers?
You can switch to.
See, he has
two sets of speakers.
So you have 2 monitor sets, and you
Yeah.
can switch between them.
and you can do inputs too. So if you had like your phone plugged in, you can change the input,
Okay.
and
That's
you can just
cool.
go to
So
that
it's like,
input.
it's like a switcher.
I was just getting too sweaty playing fucking, and I had a mod mic on this. You can still see the magnet on it.
I mean,
These things sound like shit.
I'm picky as shit with headphones. Like if it's gonna be comfortable, it's gonna be convenient. It's gonna the sound. It's gotta be good. But I'm not a sound like Nazi with that shit.
Yeah, but the biggest realization for gaming headset is like audio people because it's like either the headphones are compromised or the mic is, right?
It's gotta be comfortable for me.
Yeah.
I don't care as much about sound.
Yeah, but you're
with
better-
gaming.
You're better off getting comfortable headphones and just like a fucking mic like
I
this.
agree.
That's what I do.
That's
yeah.
what we did.
But
That's what I do. Yeah.
I kind of just wanted like an all-in-one. And
Yeah.
the
Which is hard to find
well, the Still
unless
series,
you build it.
the Still series isn't terrible, but it's funny because the one big selling factor was that DAC, and then the microphone retracts into the earpiece.
Yeah, that's how the
So
the
you
one
just
I had was.
pull it out, and
Yeah.
then when you don't want to use it, it also gives
Yeah.
you like a red status light when you mute it out.
I had the Sony ones,
Yeah, the one everyone had.
the one
Yeah.
that everyone had. But mine were the Uncharted ones.
You had
But-
a man on the side of your
That's
headphones.
right. But they, I did
Why?
because I'm a man. But I,
Just like me.
that's right. But I have to make sure I'm masculine. It had presets per game, so you could load up different presets.
That's
I don't know how much of a fucking
Wait.
difference it made.
Was it USB?
Yes. Yeah, I had the dongle.
Oh, so you could actually load the presets into
Yes.
it. Oh, okay.
So you would load in the preset based on the game you were playing, and supposedly it would change the equalization or whatever. It's like, I don't give a fuck.
So was it like a 5.0, 2.0 kind of like surround sound?
It was
kinda?
an emulated 7.0.
Oh, okay.
Emulated though.
Emulated, yeah.
So
I
it
think mine
made
does
you
that too.
feel it. It was okay,
it
but
made you
it didn't make
feel
me any
sorta-
better.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm better at the game now.
I'm way better.
Oh my god, I can kill this guy.
But then
now.
I got the Turtle Beach ones, which were more comfortable, and they sounded great. But it was like after a while they get uncomfortable, and I have to recharge them. And it was just like fucking whatever. So then, but once we set these up, we eventually had the same setup where like we had the broadcast quality shit, and we were running interfaces through Discord, and then into OBS through loopback and all this fucking crazy routing,
Yeah.
and then our voices sounded phenomenal. So it's like whatever, and there was no delay between talking. Like we jammed remotely through Discord. We had our MIDI, we had our MIDI being sent back and forth, and it was fucking nasty. And that was the way to go. But you can't take a USB headphone and use it with the interface in the old school analog way.
God.
So
Yeah.
it's like, what are we gonna do? So I just started using the Bose, and I was like, absolutely, this is the way to go. When you flick that noise canceling on, it's like,
It's a different world.
and I think Bose is the leader of noise cancellation, in my opinion. I haven't had a better noise canceling.
Nice.
It's just so
Console.
good. And I will say the Apple. I don't know. Does your Google? Do
They
they
must.
have cancellation or no?
There's settings in there. There's a bass boost and I think something else that it
But
goes.
no active cancellation.
I think so.
They would have.
They have
marketed it.
almost cancellation.
They don't. I mean,
The Apple ones are okay, but when I'm going to the shop and everyone's smashing on steel and shit, it doesn't do anything.
I mean, I will tell you when they're live, I don't notice it as much. But once I go, like, if I'm not listening to something, you get like that earplug syndrome
Yeah.
where it's like,
You feel weird. Do you know how noise cancellation works? Like active
yeah, it's
Noise
phase inversion.
phase inversion. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it doesn't work with transients. So if you make a quick sound, it's not fast enough to react, so it comes through and it sounds louder.
I was writing something recently, and I was like questioning if I should write it in or it's too complicated to easily explain visually. But
I'm excited.
no, but the idea was that this like basically this strike force like SWAT team had a device that was noise canceling them so they could move silently like through a room.
Oh, okay.
So they had some sort of like little recorder speaker thing so they could just like
kind of like inverted,
emit-
inverted their
Yeah.
their audio and like noise canceled what they were doing.
their footsteps out. Like they can stab some guy and then
Like
phase
tech-
inverts.
technological ninjas.
I mean, I wouldn't doubt if if it already exists.
yeah, I'm sure. Probably.
Probably already
It,
does.
it might already exist.
So,
Some waveform.
is there any progress at all with your other idea, or like with Night Hunter, or are you just kind of on hold till you, or do you not care, or what's the deal with that?
I
Just out of curiosity.
I was trying to put aside save some cash recently.
Obviously, yeah.
So
we're all doing the same shit.
I'm thinking that's the
Clearly.
problem.
Yeah.
I mean, I was
Fair.
writing some other. I had a lot of time when I wrote those first, like 6 and those other 2. But
Mhm.
like now it's like, I mean, my band's not doing much now with the Crux stuff, and then the Night Hunter stuff. I want to do definitely a second album, but it's more like I was trying to focus on
with them
with
or,
Crux,
or with Night Hunter,
with Night Hunter, or like
whatever.
everything. It's like at this point now, it would be anything I produce is going to be released digitally. Like
same boat.
Yeah. I think a lot of people realized when they got laid off too that like they can either sit and do the same thing
Or
right.
do something else.
I mean, no. I mean, like, why do you think so many people are like quitting entry level jobs?
Right. They want us to do their own business kind of thing.
They were laid off. I mean, I was laid off for almost a year. They were probably only laid off for like 3 months before, like, Target was like, "We'll hire you back," and they're like, "Why am I doing this?"
They're like,
dude?
"Why am I working for Target?"
Yeah.
No, but like, I mean, I could see people get themselves stuck in their lives with like, kids, family, money, problems, debt, right? Where like they could have to work at, a place they don't want to work at. But I think also people are realizing like I could attempt to make money something else or like hone my craft here
Yep.
or end up in a cardboard box. So like,
That's exactly.
There was a lot of new businesses that opened up.
Well, one of them we fucking started during it.
Yes, from a lot of people just like creating their own business.
Yeah.
After being laid off, they're like, you know what, I'm going to start my own business now because I'm like, I don't
want to work for someone.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't want to do this bullshit.
I think people really realize that how much they relied on the man and everybody else, and they're like,
and the comfortability of having more time,
especially
to yourself.
bands.
Yeah.
Bands relied on everything, and then the fact that the government come in and say like you're done, and they're like, oh fuck, we got to figure something out because we can't do anything now.
well, especially in like not national touring acts. Like if you were in it, like I've gone to maybe a few shows since everything reopened ish.
Same, like 3,
Yeah.
4, yeah.
But it's like
Same.
I used to be at something every week, twice a week. Like
Yeah.
Right.
Nope.
it's not the same.
No.
No.
Something's definitely changed.
There's been
People are definitely happy to be back.
There's a
out there.
massive shift, definitely.
shift in mindset, kind of.
Yeah, there's a massive shift going on. There's a lot of different openings for people as well.
I also think people are just like sleepy and want to be alone. It's like, what if I just listened to this music and then went to bed?
What if I just sleep more?
What if I just slept more? I mean, I had a lot.
I got a lot of sleep with my
I
my year off.
I think I caught up. I think I caught up on years of distress and lack of sleep. I was like,
Wow.
I'm finally refreshed.
Just wake up and you're like,
this is probably what my boss's life is like.
Yeah.
Waking up and going,
oh, this is wonderful.
oh, my paycheck.
Like, look at money.
my money paid to myself. I can think of so many gross things that people were like casually doing before.
Easily.
Like
no one ever thought of it before.
like literally, I probably would have been able to forget about it if the lockdown didn't happen. But I was at a party
It's getting good.
much past college because I was at a rally. I was at a party.
Dude, my hood wouldn't fit. It used to fit.
Yeah.
I got to start working out.
And then I sneezed. No, I was at a party. My buddy was moving to LA, and there was like a bunch of people from college. Like it was like our whole like roommate suite from freshman year. We all went to this party, and I remember like my friends had left, and I was just hanging out like smoking a cigarette before I got like an Uber back, and I had to sneeze, and I turned to sneeze, and just sneezed on this kid's face. Just like, and everyone on the porch that was smoking was like, ugh. And I was like, dude, I'm so, and he played, he's like, oh no, man, it's cool. I was like,
Yeah.
dude,
That's how it was.
he would burn his face off.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, nowadays,
so funny.
nowadays he'd probably throw his face in like rubbing alcohol in over a fire.
I remember my buddies and I in like high school or middle school going to the movie theater and him grabbing a
Penis.
penis from behind him grabbing like the empty jumbo carton of popcorn out of the trash can.
Oh no!
And then the one that had the free refill,
Yeah.
and then going into the line and getting refilled on
Oh
popcorn.
wow, that's actually kind of brilliant. That's something I would do. Actually, you know what? I've done that,
It's
but I like Burger King.
and you saw some guy
Yeah.
putting his fingers
Burger
in.
King. There's no popcorn at Burger King.
No.
Popcorn.
I did it with drinks. I went to the barrel and I grabbed one of their. I grabbed someone's drink out of the barrel.
Oh, fuck,
I went
gross,
I rinsed it out in the bathroom. I went
So
over
gross.
and I just went to the machine and was filling it up.
You can bring your own cup.
That's back when I was like skateboarding. I used to go.
Okay.
in
Dude, it's so
Methuen.
badass.
I went in there. I grabbed like an empty thing like at Burger King, and I just went in and rinsed it out.
Did you steal someone else's crown off their head too?
Probably.
That used to be the go-to was asking for the cup of water and be like, I'm gonna get soda.
Yeah. I just want some water.
Sucker.
And they're
Is
looking
that
at
Coke?
They got me. My buddy Matt's been flipping shit like for 2 years and like making profit on it.
Oh, I believe it.
Like
trash digging and selling it.
I did a lot of Facebook marketing when
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
over fucking quarantine.
Is this still available?
I was going through the house and I was
I'll
like,
be
yeah,
back.
let's get this
yeah, I
shit.
love those that like, hey, do you have this? Yes.
Dude, the amount of times where I'm like, all right, I'm selling this thing for $60. I got 10 cash. I'll buy it now.
Yeah, it's always 10 cash
Fucking
right now.
asshole.
Right now, what's your address?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, yeah, no.
I don't want to sell it that bad, dude.
In high school, my buddy's dad was a janitor, I think at like a YMCA. And he was like, he came in with like an iPod where like the whole back of it was like covered in black Sharpie. Like someone like covered it. And I was like, dude, what's that? He's like, oh yeah, my dad found this in the Lost and Found, but like it's got someone's name on it. So he just like put Sharpie. Like, cause you get him etched.
Yeah, he's just
So his dad just like, no, I can give this to my son.
scribbled up.
Scribble.
That's
But you can still see the name if you look
Yeah.
close enough because it's just black Sharpie. So it's just like badly painted black.
God.
Yeah,
And those kids that didn't care. Oh, I lost it. It's gone.
they should start doing that, just lying about, hey, you guys have a Lost and Found? Yeah, we have a wallet. Oh, that's my wallet. Like,
Yeah, that's mine.
Yeah, right. I lost it, and I found it.
And now it's
Yeah.
found.
You ever picked up your stuff from a Lost and Found before and they're so nonchalant? They're like, Nick? And I'm like, yep. It's like, wait, you said my name. You didn't ask me what my name was. Like, I could have just been like, sure, yeah,
Sure,
that's
yeah.
mine.
Close enough.
Yes.
Of
Dave?
course.
Close enough.
Yes.
The one with the money in it.
Yeah. Whatever it is, it's mine.
The wallet with the cash in it?
Yeah.
That's mine.
That's actually mine.
Cash money? Yeah.
That's mine.
It's got my
The
name
Lost
right
and
on.
Found guy.
Yeah. I work at Lost and Found.
Did you lose something?
I was right. Yeah. Hey, did you lose something?
Or it's a pervert.
Come on,
Sure. Yeah, do it.
you want something over here? I got a little something for you. Come here.
So you
The
lost?
Lost and Found guy is
Did you lose this popsicle?
the Herbert
You
guy.
get this Advil over here? Come over here in the office. I want to show you something. I got something in my middle pocket for you. Come here.
It's a weird tasting hot dog. But I did leave my hot dog.
Yeah. Where's my hot dog?